So 2010 is kind of a funny year because it's already started off with such a bang. You've got Mass Effect 2 and BioShock 2 that are already out, and those are both incredible games. So the rest of the year has sort of a tough act to follow up on.
So it was really challenging to figure out just a selection of stuff from 2010 that we were anticipating, because where's the cutoff, right?
You know, all the console manufacturers are looking for ways to prolong the console lifespan. You know, typically video game systems don't really last this long, so we're seeing things like Natal and you know, Sony's motion controller stuff come into play this year.
There's a lot of really great stuff coming out in the first half, and I kind of can't wait to see what pops up over the course of the year for the holidays.
Commander.
Winter contingency has been declared. All units are mobilized and ready.
Didn't think anyone survived Benghazi, sir.
Spartans never died, George. They're just missing in action.
So it seems like Bungie has been making Halo games forever now. They made the first one, the second one, the third one. They just made ODST, and eventually they have to start trying something new with it.
Halo Reach looks like it's going to deliver on that kind of squad-based, kind of full, with a full game experience. And I'm a huge fan of the book.
It's going to be pretty dark. The fall of Reach is basically the cataclysm that you're fleeing from in Halo Combat Evolved. And I think that being part of this huge defeat in mankind's war for survival,
kind of like almost like an Empire Strikes Back thing, because the planet is going to blow up. That's going to happen. And Bungie's already said that they want to make the environments as detailed and lifelike as possible, because they want you to see when it gets destroyed towards the end, like bit by bit, as kind of Armageddon comes down, as the Covenant glasses it from space. It's going to be this wonderful kind of just cataclysmic end and stuff, so I'm really excited for that.
Crazy action jumping Metroid in sort of 2D. I don't know too much about it, but it looks kind of fun.
Other M is kind of hard for me because it seems like it's going back to the old Metroid, which is great, but it's sort of ignoring all the greatness that Metroid Prime accomplished.
So the thing about Team Ninja games is that they've always been really hard. Ninja Gaiden, that's definitely the type of game that appeals to the hardcore crowd. And Metroid is a Nintendo game, and that's a publisher, that's a developer who always tries to appeal to the widest possible population of gamers out there.
I'm hoping that we get to learn more about Samus. I feel like she's been sort of defined not by who she is, but by all the stuff that happens around her. And I think that Team Ninja's in a really good position to kind of show us the lady behind the helmet.
I'm excited to see what Team Ninja can do with it. Obviously, those guys know what action games are all about. Ninja Gaiden is one of my favorite games. So I'm curious to see what they do with it and to see if they can kind of fuse the intense action of a Ninja Gaiden with the Metroid series.
Yo, you see the city? San Paro. Lots of craziness, lots of opportunities, lots of choices.
The whole sandbox action genre is pretty much one of my favorite genres of all time. It goes back to the, Grand Theft Auto 3, which pretty much revolutionized the genre. And since then, you've seen a scattering of multiplayer components in games like those. San Andreas had this weird little two-player co-op thing that was sort of hidden in the deep recesses of the game.
But this is the guy. This is Dave Jones. This is the guy who created Grand Theft Auto. To see his vision of the online kind of open world crime game is going to be really, really interesting. The question is, A, are we going to see that this year because it keeps getting delayed? And B, when's the Xbox 360 version coming out?
But seeing what it is, it's APB looks like a pretty hardcore game.
Built completely around the idea of having a bunch of people in one city just driving around, acting like jerks, causing mayhem. It's right up my alley, and I'm really looking forward to it.
This should be good. Let's begin.
For me, I guess Natal is sort of a riddle wrapped up in a mystery, wrapped inside of an enigma, because they showed it off at E3 and it looked neat, but it also looked like sort of a tech demo.
Natal, the thing that watches you in your living room and knows the exact bounds of your being and knows where you are. That thing seems it's got a little creepiness to it.
It's got some really promising aspects. I think the technology is a lot more responsive than people are giving it credit for, because they've already shown it, on stage, to the public for that dodgeball type game and stuff like that.
I think game developers will have to come up with even more interesting ways to kind of integrate gameplay experiences now that you sort of don't have these fundamental game playing controls in your hand.
At very least, it's essentially controllerless. And that's probably the part that makes it most interesting.
Will you be able to play games like first-person shooters? Will you be able to play other typical games that, usually when you think about them, they require a controller? So I think what'll be really interesting about that is to see if they can really get sort of the classic kind of games onto this new motion control system.
I do see a big lineup of like EA Sports Active games using this kind of thing. So maybe it'll actually get people off the couch and not just, purchase a balance board and leave it there in the corner.
This game was first shown a very, very small snippet at E3 2005.
It's got to be hard for Polyphony with Gran Turismo 5 because they've been working on this game for, by my math, about 74.5 years now.
It's kind of hard to believe that we would still be saying that we're looking forward to Gran Turismo 5 after having previewed the game for what seems like 25 years.
But to me, the visual quality of Gran Turismo just seems to lend itself really well to delivering on an experience. Probably something like, we haven't really tried until you get in there and you see that photorealistic experience and it's totally kind of 3D, That's something I'm definitely looking forward to playing.
I bet it's going to be shiny.
If we do not destroy them quickly.
Starcraft, obviously a classic, came out quite a while ago, 1998 if I recall correctly. And yet it's still going strong. There's still a lot of people playing this game online. Obviously it's huge in Korea, so.
StarCraft 2 should have happened years ago, right? StarCraft was an amazing success. We all loved it, we all played it, and some of us are still playing it, and it's because we don't have StarCraft 2.
Probably one of the best features that people can look forward to in StarCraft 2 in 2010 is that the frickin' thing is going to be out, which is going to be, it's a plus. It's a huge plus for that game. But more than that, the fact that StarCraft 2 is going to be bringing an update to BattleNet and some really tight multiplayer gameplay.
It's one of those games where I'm so excited about it that I'm even entertaining the thought of trying to, get into the multiplayer too, because Blizzard's, building up this new infrastructure for BattleNet and kind of integrating everything. So
it's just one of those games where everybody knows it, everybody loves it, and even if you have no idea what the hell a click per minute ratio is, it still looks really cool.
I do want to point out, notice how fast it's tracking his motions.
All right, let's try this. Yes.
The PlayStation 3 motion controller, which apparently is codenamed the Arc, to me looks like the most kind of fascinating device.
I don't know, it implies to me that you're going to be able to have something like the Wii where you point and you see your cursor on screen, except it will recognize it to a larger degree.
What I'm expecting out of the motion controller for the PS3 is just a much more accurate Wii remote that functions with PS3 games. So you get all that fun of playing Tiger Woods with Wii Motion Plus, but you also get a much more realistic game that's running on the PlayStation 3.
The downside is, you look like you're at a rave in the mid-90s holding some glow sticks, but I'm really, really excited for this one.
All I do know is that in terms of numbers of games, I have heard a larger number for some of the Sony stuff, and that's really what's going to come down to for either of these things, right? It's going to come down to the games like it always is, no matter what the hardware is. It's like whoever's got the cooler motion controller games, boom, you're good.
You are the cure.
The original Crackdown never really got a fair shake because that game was the game that came with the beta access to Halo 3 multiplayer. And so people, they kind of made the joke that you buy Halo 3 multiplayer and you get a free game as a result, so hey, everybody wins.
I'm a big fan of games that make it fun and interesting to move from point A to point B. And that's something that Crackdown did pretty well.
You start as a sort of normal, tough, sort of secret agent cop figure, and you run around the city and you collect these ability orbs and you just turn into a superhuman freak that can just dash up a skyscraper, you pick up a car, you hurl it into a building, you just go crazy on this city.
Crackdown felt a little bit rushed out, but now it's it's a really talented group of people who assembled this new studio, Ruffian Games, that are working on it. And as we saw with Batman Arkham Asylum, just because it's a new studio doesn't mean it can't really put out an amazing game.
Pure or corrupted, that future has not yet been written.
One of the things I love about Fable is not necessarily the games themselves. I love Fable 2, don't get me wrong, but what I like is sort of the build-up and Peter Molyneux kind of going into depth about all these sort of world-changing features that the Fable games strive to have. And
Fable 3, is that really coming out this year? Fable 3? It feels like it's not very long ago that I poured hours and hours into the land of Albion in Fable 2.
There's one thing we've learned in the office, is that we like being evil most of the time when we play a game like Fable. And when you factor in a lot of the crazy talk that we've heard about the game, in the press from when it was announced to how it's going to have Natal support, we're just really hungry to see what this is going to be.
I don't know what Fable 3 will bring, but I think there's a lot of room for, for the possibility of developing a relationship with characters, something that I think was really missing. So I'd love to see something deeper, something where I can really establish a relationship with somebody in Fable 3 beyond the dog.
So I was more attached to the dog. I'm hoping the dog makes a comeback.
I'm really excited about The Last Guardian. Shadow of the Colossus is one of my very favorite games of all time.
I'm pretty much a sucker for anything that Team Ico does. Their art direction and just the way they think about games is pretty brilliant.
Last Guardian is one of these games in 2010 that really seems to, emotion is a huge part of it.
It's another game we know so little about, so we can only kind of speculate based on this, this trailer that we've seen and has been presented to us. But what we've seen there has already gotten us kind of itching to see what's going to happen, because we have this giant creature that's kind of unlike what we've seen.
Like an adorable, giant, fierce griffin puppy.
Puppy, cat, dragon, bird.
Dragon, dog, cat.
Bird, dog, canary, dragon thing. And you look at that thing and immediately the first thought that came into my head is, oh man, that thing is going to die. Because it has these gigantic puppy eyeballs, and just at the end of the game, something's going to happen. You're going to start crying. It's going to make you sad. You're probably going to run away from the TV. And
I really don't know how they do it, but they make the most moving, the most fantastic, the most sublime games that I've played before.
Team Ico, enough said.